Hello, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for our session on From Reactive to Proactive Safety Management and Introduction to Cority's Audits and Inspection Solution. My name is Farzhana Shah and I am a Product Advisory Manager here at Cority. We'll be using this time today to give you a brief overview of Cority's Audits and Inspection Solution, including a demonstration. And our goal today is simple. It's to show you how digitizing audits and inspections can transform your safety program from reactive to proactive. So we'll get started with just some housekeeping items. So for technical help, if the audio or slides freeze during the presentation, press the F5 key on a Windows or Command R on a Mac to refresh your console or browser. You can also select the question mark icon from the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. For your questions you have throughout the presentation, please plug them into the Q&A box located on the left side of the screen. We're going to be answering as many as possible at the end of today's session. And then also located in the toolbar, you'll find a short survey about today's webinar experience. We ask that you please take a moment to complete it at the end of the session. If you do have to leave before the presentation, you can fill it out before you go. And you'll also notice a collection of resources linked below the slides for you to access at your leisure, in addition to our featured content located at the bottom right of the screen. Should you wish to connect with a Cority expert to learn more about any of our EHS software solutions, we invite you to submit a demo request via the widget on the bottom left. And then finally, we're just going to do a quick introduction of your speakers today. As mentioned, my name is Farzhana, and I'm a Product Advisory Manager for our Safety and Risk Solutions here at Cority. I am a Canadian registered professional engineer and spent almost 25 years as an EHS professional in the oil and gas industry before joining Cority just over a year ago. And I'm excited to be co-presenting today with my colleague, John Tourigny, who will be taking us through the demonstration. So John, please go ahead and say hi and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Farzhana. My name is John Tourigny, Senior Solutions Engineer here at Cority. Got about 9 years experience in this industry and here to help you folks today with your proactive safety, showing you two of our products today's audits and inspections. So here to answer any questions that you may have and hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So before we dive right into the demo, we're just going to give you a bit of context and some background on the importance of audits and inspections. So we wanted to talk about why so many organizations struggle to mature their safety programs and improve their safety performance. So many organizations start their digital safety journey with an incident management solution. And while that's a very important first step, relying only on incident tracking keeps you in reactive mode. And so here are the common barriers that prevent safety programs from maturing into more proactive systems. Manual or paper-based audit and inspections systems slow processes and create inconsistencies, and that makes it hard to maintain accuracy and efficiency. Data remains siloed across departments, limiting collaboration and trend analysis. You have limited visibility into your recurring risks across sites, leaving your organizations blind to patterns that could lead to serious incidents. Corrective actions are delayed due to weak tracking and accountability, allowing hazards to persist longer than necessary. Your frontline engagement is low because tools are cumbersome and hard to use, reducing participation in proactive safety measures. Audit execution lacks standardization, resulting in inconsistent quality and missed compliance requirements. And then all of this leads to a high administrative burden, pulling resources away from strategic safety improvements. So digitizing audits and inspections helps to overcome these barriers by connecting data, streamlining your workflows, and empowering teams to act proactively. And the result of staying in reactive mode is quite costly. So not just in dollars, but in lives and reputation. Consider this. Over 80% of workplace accidents are preventable, and nearly half occur due to poor planning. Organizations that implement effective safety programs can see injury and illness rates drop by 20% or more, and every dollar invested can deliver an approximate $4 to $6 return. If your only tool is incident tracking, you're always reacting after the fact. Risks remain invisible until they lead to injuries, compliance gaps, and or costly disruptions. Audits and inspections aren't just checklists, they're actually a strategic tool to surface your risks early, close your gaps faster, and build a culture of safety excellence. And so this is where Cority's audits and inspection solution comes in. To truly reduce risk, you need tools that surface issues before they become incidents. Cority's audits and inspection solution helps you to gain visibility into risk trends and compliance status. It empowers your teams with mobile tools to conduct audits and inspections anytime, online or offline. And it drives better outcomes with a proactive compliance solution that simplifies processes and accelerates action. So here are all the benefits that you get when you deploy Cority's audits and inspection solution. You'll see reduced risk by identifying hazards early and closing gaps faster. You will have streamlined workflows with automated scheduling, reminders, and escalations so nothing gets missed. You'll see demonstrated compliance with simplified reporting and real-time visibility for regulators and stakeholders. And you'll be able to empower your workforce with easy-to-use mobile tools that drive engagement and ownership. And these benefits will translate to safer workplaces and stronger compliance performance. So our solution includes everything you need to standardize and optimize audits and inspections. With the audit solution, you get configurable or pre-built workflows, scheduling with calendar invites and automated notifications. With inspections, you can assign tasks to individuals or teams, track completion, and manage findings and corrective actions. And with our platform BI and analytics, you get advanced dashboards and reports to identify trends and drive continuous improvement. And then with mobile access, your teams can complete audits and inspections anytime, anywhere, even offline. And so these features ensure consistency, accountability, and actionable insights across your organization. So getting started with us is very simple. We offer two flexible deployment options. The first is a tailor-fit deployment option, which is a fully configurable solution that aligns with your unique requirements for a customized implementation. Or we offer the Audits and Inspections Essentials package, which is an out-of-the-box add-on package that comes with pre-configured templates for faster implementation, which will help you to go live in as little as 8 weeks. And this solution can be added on to any existing solution that already carries configuration of demographics and org trees, and can be added to any solution that does not already have audits and inspection features. Both options accelerate your time to value and help you move from reactive to proactive safety management. So we're going to shift gears now, and we're going to head into the demo. John will walk you through the demo and a tour of the audits and inspections solution. Just to note, for an optimal viewing experience of the demonstration, please expand your media player, which is found at the top left of your screen. And then when the webinar concludes, you can minimize it and return back to the presentation.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making time for us in your busy days today. My name is John Tourigny. I'm a Senior Solutions Engineer here at Cority, and I'm going to be walking you through the Audits and Inspections tool today, and thanks as well for the slide presentation, Farzhana. Today, our agenda is a general overview through into a managerial setup. What does it look like from the manager side of things to create these inspections? And then more importantly, how do we take this and make some actionable insights? So once the data does come in from the end users, how do we actually take the work that was done by the front line and really make some good decisions out of it? So we'll see that in part 5 there with dashboards and reports. But I've also sprinkled a few cool things in today. We're going to talk about some use cases that you may not have seen before in Cority, and that is the QR codes, the guest portal, and maybe some inspections that come from an asset like a vehicle or a forklift. Just a few things that we can also do that some of our customers don't really know about. So thank you for that, and I'll be here as well to answer any questions after the fact. So we're going to log in on both web and mobile. A big part of today's webinar is going to be our mobile tool. So let's get locked and loaded. We're going to start off on the web system, and so as you know, with Cority, you are able to set a home page on first login. So our EHS manager here is about a year or so into their rollout of their inspection program, and there's quite a bit of information that's come through. This is their standard inspections dashboard. We're going to come back to this and talk more about it. I think the best place for us to start is to talk about how the audit profiles are broken out in the system. And so that individual would go to the inspections and surveys area here. And the reason we've separated our inventory into profiles is for organization. So for example, life safety, the dozens to hundreds of inspections that come in would all be sorted into life safety. Same thing with office safety. We typically work with you folks on getting your data into our tool. We are coming out with an AI tool, an automated tool that will be able to auto-create inspection checklists. And that's coming out on December 4th. We're happy to talk more about that in the future. But our example for today is this life safety inspection profile. And here's our survey that we've loaded for that. This is a monthly inspection. You can do these weekly, daily, what have you. And then from here, we can actually push this out to individuals. Like you can see here, Karina, Claudia, myself have a few assignments, but we can also push this out to a group. And so if you wanted to push this inspection checklist out to a whole group of people so that they can do that on web or mobile, we can also push these out to groups. And then this is where the organization aspect sort of sets in. So we can see which inspections are due and who has those due. You can see I've got a couple of them. And then you have in progress and completed. So the dozens to hundreds of inspection checklists, the individual records that come through, this is kind of how we organize them. And if I go into one of these life safety inspections, this is where we can see the work that was done by, in this case, myself or John. And some of the things that you might want to incorporate into your inspection checklist are things like branching, so the ability to turn on or turn off sections of your checklists. That's pretty important. Also, the ability to actually take a picture and upload that directly to the checklist in the field. So we'll talk a bit about that. I'm not going to go through this entire checklist today. This is one of our longer examples, so I'll spare you the pain of going through and answering every single question. That's not the point. The point is that these will get completed by the end users on the front line, and then from there we're going to make some actionable insights with our data reports. One of the things that we will want to talk a bit about is the findings and the actions and how important they are from a completion standpoint. So this is one of the things we're going to talk quite a bit about today. One of the things that does differentiate Cority in the market is the ability to auto-create findings from a questionnaire. Something that is going to save you folks time. And so we're going to talk a bit about how we can get this done. But in this case, the user has indicated that, there wasn't any advertisement of this fire extinguisher, and so that's a finding. What the system will do is it will auto-create this record just based on an answer, no. And that's a setting that you can turn on or turn off at the individual question level. And what this allows you to do as a manager is to sift through. You don't have to go through all of the individual questions and checklists themselves. You just turn on this feature and it will basically, everything that you need to focus on will kind of bubble to the surface. And then you can decide if you need to create any actions from there. So maybe, John, please create signs highlighting extinguishers. And it's that easy. We kind of call to your attention what needs to be done, and you don't have to do anything about it. You can delete it, or you can just leave it as it is. But if I push this to John, this is going to give an email to that individual. I'll send it to myself just so I can show you what the emails look like. Press save, and you'll get a little notice that an email has been sent out to that individual. I'll pull up that email just so you kind of have an idea of what the individual emails would look like. But in this case, we've got an email that goes out to John. Hey, John, there's an auto-created questionnaire or auto-created finding from this questionnaire. Do you want to do anything about it? Yes, please create the signs highlighting the extinguishers. And we can adjust the notification flow. So if you'd like these emails to be sent out to a specific manager or supervisor, we can also point the notifications in the workflow accordingly. So that's a bit about the web system. That's a bit about how we can set up these checklists and how we can really save you folks time by really calling attention just to the things that you need to focus on. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about mobile, the My Cority tool. This is going to be the heavy-hitting tool that's really going to be able to get information from those end users. And when these individuals log in, they're going to be able to create new questionnaires on the spot, and they're also going to be able to go through inspections that may have been assigned to them. So you can see that myself, I've been a little delinquent here. I've got about 20 overdue inspections, but it's just like the web experience, except it's geared towards me. It's meant for me in my bucket of bolts. And so in this case, this is my partially completed life safety inspection. And a bit different than on the web, I can actually attach pictures. For example, if I'm on my Samsung Galaxy tablet here, I can actually take a picture directly. There's my little baby Yoda. His name is Goguru, technically. But I can go ahead and attach this directly to a question, and you can actually see a little blue dot above the widget. Just indicates that there's an attachment of a video or an image. I can also attach comments. So for example, I can say that, there was a splash of water on the stairs, cleaned up on site. So a little bit of information goes a long way when we're doing inspections. Again, these are leading indicators. I can also create actions directly from this tool. So if I press the little exclamation mark, this allows me to create an actual safety action directly in the field. Some managers prefer to have power over this so that we're not, sending actions that don't need to be sent. But this is totally fine. We can go ahead and create these in many, many ways, but wanted to walk you through some of the basics. Now, we're going to go through some of the cooler use cases, some of the things that I've been asked quite a bit by my EHS managers. One of the things that I get asked all the time is, how do we actually take a QR code and launch an inspection? And we're going to show a couple different ways that we do that. We're going to do that as an actual user in the system, so somebody that would be logged in like Jenna here, but we're also going to log in. We're not going to log in. We're going to do is that what we call a guest access or a guest portal access. So I'm going to get my tablet geared towards the camera, and there's two ways that you can do this, right? You can take a daily forklift inspection QR code. We can actually just scan that right there, and that will actually launch my QR code. Oh, give it a second here. Too zoomed in. There we are. Press the link, and this will take me to the authenticated version of Cority. So in this case, I would be a user, so I'm going to go ahead and put in my EHS manager credentials. And this is going to take me directly to my forklift inspection, or whatever it might be. So I can go through my forklift inspection that way. So QR codes, all the rage right now, so it's one way of getting the data from your end users without too much effort. We can put these QR codes individually on forklifts. You can put them in areas where people just need to scan and upload, and so that's one way that we can get the checklist into the hands of users in a much simpler way. One of the things that we can also do is we have an in-tool scanner, right? So this is more for if you have an asset system. We have a system of assets. Maybe you've got a whole bunch of trucks and forklifts. We can use the in-tool scanner, and I can press this little button right here and give it a second, and boom, it will align directly to forklift 3820, and I can actually create and review inspections more from the asset view as opposed to the just the generic view. So this is going to, any inspection that I do here will automatically be aligned to that forklift, and I can look up that forklift in my asset manager, and I can see all the inspections that have ever been done, all of the action items that have ever been done for that individual asset. And the last thing that I'm going to show you today is our guest portal. So there's actually a way that we can also scan externally. And one of the use cases that we get quite a bit is maybe contractors logging in. They're not part of your Active Directory, so they're not actually going to have an email for your company. But one way we can do this, scan it there. That was a lot faster that time. This will take me to a link where I don't need to authenticate. All I need to do is press this little button right here, guest login. And now this brings me directly to my contractor qualification questionnaire, or what have you. These questionnaires are external facing. As long as there's no private information on these questionnaires, it's totally safe. But it gets around that issue of not having folks that are part of your company, you still need to get information from them, whether they're contractors or they're vendors or they're suppliers. Every company has situations like this where we need to get information back from people, but we don't want to spend too much time managing that. Okay, good. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap up and we're going to talk a bit about dashboards. And one of the things that we wanted to talk to you today about is really how do we make decisions from this data? So we talked about all kinds of ways to get data into the system, but something that I get from my EHS managers all the time is, John, how do we separate the yeses from the nos? How do we start to focus in on the risk that the end users are communicating back to us? And so this is our standardized dashboard. From here, we can take a look at, how the program is going depending on, are we in Europe, North America, we can separate by site. All of these inspections have a demographics alignment. Maybe which findings are coming in and, what open tasks we have. There's also a calendar view. So if you wanted to take a look at how actions are being done across the team. Really what I'm trying to get to is this little dashboard widget that I built down here, where we just took one checklist and we broke out the yeses and the nos. This is pretty simple for our query builder tool to do. In this example, our fire extinguisher tool, or our checklist, our fire extinguisher checklist, 38.4% of all responses are no's, and that's actually pretty high for a checklist. Usually it's like 4 or 5%. But if I click into the no's, I can actually break out where are those no's coming from. And so 13.2% of all of our no's for the entire fire extinguisher checklist. This could be thousands of different checklists, right, done over time. There's no tags on those fire extinguishers, and then the other 13.2%, there's obstructions in the area. So almost over a quarter of all of the risk is coming from two causes. There's obstructions and the extinguishers are missing tags. And so we use our data analysis tool and our drill through tools to kind of just make it really easy for you folks to see where the problems are, where the risk is. And I can actually go back and I can do this for any checklist. And this is kind of how you can take data from your checklists and start to have an understanding of the proactive safety. Maybe there's an area of the business that's a little bit risky. You put a checklist program in place. But what to do now? Well, we would build graphs like this, and we would start to analyze where the risk is and how we can do that. One thing that I'll show you as well, too, that I think a lot of customers have been asking about is, how do we actually make it easy for end users to get to their checklists. So we'll end on this. This is the settings, if you will, of the tool. And it's back in here where I can do all kinds of cool stuff, right? This is where I can create questionnaires and we teach your team how to do this. And I'm available after this Deminar if you have any questions about it, but lots of different questions that we can ask end users. The examples that you saw me go through today were just some really basic examples, but we can ask yes, no, not available, all different types of multiple choice questions. We can even use a draw function, which we can embed an image like you saw with the forklift checklist, and we can mark it up, or this is how we do signatures as well too. But really what I wanted to show you is how we can embed a single questionnaire as a button. So this daily forklift inspection checklist, I'll just pull up my mobile so you can kind of see what it looks like on the other side of things. But what we can do here is we can actually embed that checklist in. And so right here, take a peek at what's going on right here. If I just press this button, press save, and I refresh my page, now we've got a new daily forklift inspection checklist stuck to the main page on the mobile application. So it's that easy to get data back from your end users. I'll be here as well. If you have any questions about the tool, we can only show you in 15 minutes a few bits of the application. But if you have any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you for your time, and hope to speak to you soon. Thank you.
That's great. Okay, I think we are back. That was an awesome demo, John. Thank you for doing that. So that concludes that portion of our session today. Just before we open up the floor for questions, if you are interested to learn more about Cority's Audits and Inspection solution, as John mentioned, that was a brief snippet of what we can do with our solution. We welcome you to access the link on the screen. where you'll find the details of the solution and the benefits of our digital audits and inspections solution. So we're ready now to open up the floor for questions. We do have some in the queue, just a couple in the queue here. We'll start with the first one that came through around mobile and MyCority. And I think John did a good job of showing how our mobile tools are leveraged with this solution. Any other thoughts on mobile, John, that you wanted to add to the MyCority question?
Yeah, I think the main, let me take a peek at the question that came in.
It was just around our audits available with MyCority.
Yes, I believe so. We would probably want to take a look at, which audits we were looking to do. But yes, they are.
Okay, great. Next question was, so for the example of the forklift checklist, can the fields that display be conditional on a previous selection? So if you choose forklift 1, 2, 3, it's a propane-powered forklift with different options than forklift 4, 5, 6, which is a battery-powered forklift. So I think this is related to dependent questions, if I understand correctly. So what are your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things that we can do in the setup of different questionnaires. One of them is branching. And I think there was a couple things that we did show in the demo where we went through branching, obviously. So you can branch based on responses. But I think based on the question, what we can do as well is we can set, if you wanted to go the asset route, you can have different types of checklists load based on the asset. I think the example that I reviewed in the demo was we had like a forklift QR code, and then that would launch our mobile asset page. The inspections that you would do for a forklift that wasn't propane powered versus one that was propane powered, those would be different inspections. They're different assets. So that's one way that we would maybe specify the type of questionnaire that we're sending is based on asset. But you could also just create 2 generic types of questionnaires, one for regular forklifts, one for propane forklifts. And so you at least have those 2 different types of questionnaires in the system.
Okay, great. One here on creating their own specific questionnaires. So can we confirm it's possible to create our own questionnaires?
Yes, it is possible.
Yeah, okay. And then another one here, I'm going to see if I can read this. So can you set it up in MyCority for employees to see actions that they have created by assigned to someone else to track the progress of action? So can you, I think this is, if they've assigned an action to someone else, so if it's a supervisor, I'm reading this as if a supervisor has assigned an action to someone on their team, can they track progress in MyCority of those actions that they've assigned?
It depends on your security permissions. The answer is yes. Yes, we can do that. If you go to this, there'll be an area where you can see, at least at the questionnaire level, there will be a little exclamation mark box, and it'll either be red or it'll be with a blue dot. So you can see if an action has been created, like actually on the questionnaire. I think the questionnaire is trying to figure out, or the question here is trying to figure out if we have like an actions register on MyCority, and you do have a My Tasks area. So anything that's been assigned to you specifically, you'd be able to see it. And then conversely, anything that generally has been assigned, you can go to the questionnaire and you'd see the little widget of the, I wish I could share my screen. Yeah, you can see a little widget of a exclamation mark with a blue dot. That means someone's created an action on that question. So you can see both. You can see things that are geared towards you, and you can see any action that has been created on that questionnaire.
Okay, great. Hopefully that answers that question. Any other questions? We do have a bit more time here, so feel free to, okay, here's one that just came in. Oh yeah, the link to the website, our Cority website, yeah, we'll share that as well. Any other questions? Okay, it looks like we've got all the questions that have come through. Any last minute thoughts, John, before we close?
No, I think the point of this is to give a very simple overview of our inspections tool, just to kind of generate some thoughts and some questions. So we do appreciate the questions afterwards. Obviously, we would be more than happy to give an in-depth presentation of the tool. There's a lot of things that we didn't show today that might be of interest to you. There's a lot of features and use cases that we didn't incorporate today. So send us anything. We're more than happy to connect with you and meet with you and see if we can help you.
Okay, sorry, before we do close, there's one more question that came in that we probably want to address. So there's one around escalation. So can we go into a little bit more detail about the escalation process?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the escalation emails typically are around task due dates. So as we know, and if we don't know, there's two types of notifications that are sent out. One is trigger-based notifications. Like, so for example, if I assign Farzhana an inspection, that would be what we call a trigger-based notification. So that would immediately send out a notification to Farzhana, letting her know that she has an inspection due on Friday, for example. But for escalations, they're a little bit different because they require some kind of task or workflow due date. And so in that sense, we can create escalations. They used to be called MAEN settings, and these are hard-coded into the back end of the platform. Escalations can be set to in 3 different modes. One, you can escalate directly to the employee that owns that task, and we can set the time delay. So is it 1 day after the due date? Is it 3 days after the due date? And you can even embed a recurrence, so it can actually keep recurring until they get their task done. But typically when we talk about escalations, it's to their boss. And so there is what we call a supervisor field on everybody's employee page. And obviously that begs the question, do we have data flowing in from your HR tool? Most payroll systems have supervisor and who reports to who in the structure of that tool. So and most Cority customers are already importing that data daily. And so all we would need to do is just make sure that supervisor field is coming through your HR import. Then it's automatic, right? We can just turn the escalation to supervisor, and it's the same thing as with the employee escalations. You can set how many days in advance you'd like to have those emails go out. But yes, so there's 2 notification types. There's trigger and escalations. And the escalations go to a supervisor, which is a field on the employee record.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so now I think we've looked at all of the questions. I think we've got to them all. Again, if you do continue to have questions and want to learn more, please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We'd be happy to spend some time doing a more in-depth demo for you and your teams. But I think from this point, we are ready to close the session. Just a reminder, this recording will be available on demand once we're done here, so you can access it anytime. And with that, I think we will close. So I want to thank John for doing a great job at supporting the questions and doing that great demo. And thank you all for joining us and spending your time with us today to learn a little bit more about our solution. Thank you all and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.